testing. You can hear me. Mic testing. Thank you so much, our distinguished guests. Today we are here to speak about the campaign that we started on the 16th April. This is the Blue Umbrella Day, which is celebrated in the whole world. Now, at this moment, it is hosted by Family for Every Child, courtesy of GVRC. And today, I'm your host. My name is David Kanyanjwa Machugu. I'm a counseling psychologist, and I'm also a case manager within Nakuru County. I think we better welcome each and every one of you. Karibuni sana. Now, this campaign started actually on 2 weeks ago, on the 16th of April, where we had to host father and sons, actually, because the campaign is for sons in relation to the violation that is happening. It's a campaign going on because we've been actually neglecting the boy child, and we did not know, probably, that they used to suffer in silence. That's the reason why the Blue Umbrella campaign and the Family for Every Child came up with this campaign so that you can be able to talk issues to do with the boy child. And last time when we were here, I think it was featured even in GVRC as in the Facebook, we were hosting 25 fathers and their sons. And we had a very good time, actually. Mwalimu, ni vile haukua, lakini we had a very good time with the fathers, where we had a session where we talked about the types of violence, that is the forms of violence. We discussed about what children are going through. We talked about even the forms that they are going through, the challenges that they are going through, psychologically, emotionally, and even economically. So all that was discussed when we were there at the GVRC and the live stream, which was hosted by GVRC. Now, today we are having teachers, as I can see. Thank you for coming, and you're most welcome. So this is just a continuation of the campaign that we had. We realized that now that we have talked with the boy child and we've talked with their fathers, I think it's a high time now we involved even the teachers, because we've been working together with you, actually, and Mwalimu was atasema on the Bacon teachers, actually, and the movement. And we also have clubs in schools that, of course, have been championing for the GVRC. So today, we are more privileged to have teachers, even for those who are live, they are watching us. Today, we have a panelist of a teacher who will be taking us through about GBV and the forms and types, just to give us a highlight on how all these should be coordinated. You're most welcome. Now, with me here, I'm having Mwalimu Calvin. We usually call him Nyaberi, but he will introduce himself. And I think most of the teachers here, you're able to see, and even our viewers, you're able to I want to invite him, actually, so that he can be able to just slightly talk about a few things in our first session, because we'll be having 2 sessions. The first session, where he will take us through as our facilitator, talking on issues to do with the boy child and the different things that are happening. And then after that, we will be able to have a panel of I, the host, the facilitator, and some few of the teachers, where we'll have a discussion how do we put our synergies together and in this campaign, even with the Bacon teachers and the movement that we're having, how can we synergize together so that we can be able to know and help even these children? Even as you are teaching them in schools, most of the times you're the ones who are in school with them, isn't it? Si ninyi mnakuanga nao kwa mashule. So tungependa kujua tutawasaidia kivipi? How do you know a child who's abused? What can you do? Hiyo yote in our second session that we'll be having, which is a discussion. But for today, we are having Calvin, who will just take us through a few forms that, for you to understand what's happening on GBV. Thank you so much, and Mwalimu, karibu sana.
Tafadhali simpigie David makofi kidogo. The man seated in front of you today is a colleague teacher. I'm one of you. Calvin Nyaberi is a Beacon teacher. Beacon teacher chairman, Nakuru County chapter. We have Nakuru Beacon teachers. We have Beacon teachers Kenya. We have Beacon teachers Africa. We are passion, powers, action. Nyaberi Calvin is a classroom teacher who by chance was trained by the GVRC 7 years ago. 7 years ago, around 2016, 2015, that is when I met the Gender Violence Recovery Center. And at that time, I was a real teacher, a tyrant teacher, very young, newly employed, very energetic, and I would terrorize those kids properly. I don't want to go into those details. That is a story for another day. But today, I'm so privileged that I'm seated in front of teachers, and these experiences that I'm giving, they are exactly what you are facing in your staff rooms. So as I'm speaking as one of you. So colleagues, without further ado, because my time is very limited, I'll take you straight to the issue today. All along, I've gone around Kenya with the Gender Violence Recovery Center talking about gender violence. Mostly, we've been talking about the girl child. Today is about that time that we talked about the boy child. This is the question that has been raised in our staff rooms. And the Gender Violence Recovery Center has found it prudent that we discuss this. It has been long overdue, and this is the right time. So ladies and gentlemen, as we are talking about violence, let us get to understand what is this animal that we are talking about. If somebody today asked you who is a perpetrator, what does a perpetrator look like? All of you will say you don't know. But these perpetrators, of course, will look at the examples of who are these perpetrators, but the perpetrators look exactly like you and myself, because I've been one of them. Today, as I'm seated here, I've gone to around half of the counties of Kenya, starting with Nakuru County. I've been in West Pokot, I've been in Baringo, I've been in Elgeyo Marakwet, and the story is the same. So today, let me introduce the gender violence against boys. And this, of course, is anything that you do that affects this boy either physically, emotionally, and even talk about sexually. Gender violence occurs in all spaces, be it private or public. We have examples of this that David has talked about, one of it being physical, and I'll explain later on as we progress. We have verbal. You can mention physical, psychological, sexual harassment. We have neglect. We also have exploitation and even emotional. Let me take you to the example that took place in Nyamira County just a few weeks ago. That boy who was in a boarding school and was twacked 113 strokes of the cane. You see, sometimes as teachers, when we look at these children, some of them are physically enabled, they are growing. Kikaa kule nyuma, unasema wewe, you want a fight, you want to pick a fight with me. Therefore, physically, we've caned these boys. Some of them are today in the theater, wanting to get surgeries, correctional surgeries, after the physical things that we have done to them. Therefore, also verbally, in classes, there are usually big boys at the back of your classrooms. What names do you give them? Especially when they fail very simple questions. I'm a classroom teacher, and by coincidence, I happen to be one of the administrators in my school. Therefore, these cases come up, and let us treat these children as children, because verbally, especially the lady teacher, that is why in my group I have brought ladies so that they can listen, because mostly they are the people who have been culprits in this. Unaniangaliaje? Do you want to pick a fight? Umenidharau kwa sababu mimi ni madam. That is the language that we use in schools. And verbally, we have tortured these children. What about sexual harassment? I have a case in point where a Khathi, or let me say a teacher of madrasa, had 30 boys in his class, and half of them were sodomized by the very teacher who was supposed to educate these children. So he has a class. During the holidays, these children are there. And of course, this teacher happens to molest these children. Another case here in Nakuru County, just a few years ago, a football coach has a very small group of children that is training football. Same thing, same way. So we'll look at who are these perpetrators, but finally, let me talk about harmful cultural practices. Some of our communities, how do you circumcise the boy child? For those who practice male circumcision, how do you do it? I don't want to mention your community. I want you to reflect and see how you do it. Some of them are walking very early in the morning, taken along the riverbeds, or the riverbanks. Some of them are smeared with God knows what. Others are told to stand in a line. They pull and then cut. Pull, cut. Don't you think it is about that time we had that conversation? So, before I take you into the matter deeply, I want us to understand a few terms that we use in child protection, especially the boy child. Who is a child? A child is anybody who is below 18 years. Any human being who is below 18 years, be it male or female, that is a child. And then, of course, you teachers and myself, we are dealing with students. Who is a student? Is anyone who is enrolled in a learning institution. Because we are teachers, I want you to look at that college of yours, where you are. What were the lecturers doing with your classmates at that time? I happen to be in one of the colleges in Western Kenya, and your guess is as good as mine. Therefore, we need to start this conversation from there. The small things that you see and neglect, this is where, of course, this violence starts from. And the vice versa is true. Those lecturers, the lady lecturers, and you, male teachers, you are younger, you are students, and you can imagine what was happening at that time. So what is child protection? Is any deliberate effort that you make to make this child feel safe in their natural environment. Any deliberate effort that you make to stop or to ensure that that child is comfortable in their natural environment. And of course, as we are talking about child protection, there is something that we want to address, that is child abuse. So child abuse is any act that directly or indirectly hinders the ability of the child to thrive in their natural environment. For example, ile tuliita physical, the verbal, the psychological, sexual, we have emotional and neglect. All this will affect that child either directly or indirectly, and at the end of the day, this child will not achieve his or her full potential. Now today, since I'm talking about the boy child, I want to introduce another term that we will mostly come across during our discussion, and that is sodomy. What is sodomy? Sodomy is either oral or anal intercourse against the boy child. It can either be oral or anal. Sodomy. Umesikia mara nyingi, so and so was sodomized. That boy was sodomized. That is what we are talking about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my very first question was, who are the perpetrators? What do these animals look like? And you told me they look like you and I. I have a classic example. Just 1 week ago, you saw what happened in Kitengela. In Kitengela, this is a parent who has gotten a dagger and has decided to deal with that kid 100 times. So who is the perpetrator apart from you teachers, parents, or guardians? Okay? Some of these things are very sad. And they start small and they become very big things in this life. So parents and guardians, I've given you a classic example of what happened in Kitengela. According to the Gender Violence Recovery Center, the youngest victim of defilement is a few months old child. A few months old child, and this was perpetrated by the father, the biological father. Neighbors, you are here today, you are here right now. Maybe your wife or your husband is working elsewhere. In whose hands did you leave your kid at home? Maybe the neighbors. The neighbors, today as I'm seated here, I have a case that I'm handling that a child came late from school. The parents had gone to a safari, and this child sought refuge during a rainy season like now in the house of this neighbor. This neighbor took advantage of the kid, and that is how he sodomized the boy child. The boy is in class 3, and they had left class at around 3 p.m. The parents were not there. So you can see what the neighbors, relatives, and even religious leaders. I've shown you how religious leaders, that was a teacher, a sheikh, a teacher of madrasa. Look at the scenario today in Kenya, the things we are dealing with at Shakahola. Some of them are children. Who are the culprits? They are religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Therefore, we need to have this discussion as early as now before we lose it. The law enforcement officers, I think during my mobilization, I had one police officer that I've invited so that they can have a listen. Recently, one of them called me from Bondeni police station to ask me that one child from one special school in Njoro sub-county had been sodomized. Of course, since it is a case that is ongoing, I don't want to delve into those matters. He's a very close friend of mine. You visit Bondeni police station, you'll get that case right there. We have also other perpetrators that is online friends. The online friends. During the COVID period, you've heard that children met on social media, that is on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp. And of course, they made journeys from one town to another, and they were enclosed in a room like this. They don't know each other completely, but they met there, and the rest is as you know it. Then, of course, we have boda riders. Sadly, this is one industry that has contributed most in the issues that we have today, the boda sector. They are our brothers. They are our sisters. Some of them, they ferry our children to school and to and fro. And what happens in a scenario like this? It is raining right now. This guy does not have an umbrella. They decide to take a different direction to the boda as a house. So you can imagine what will happen to that boy child. And of course, sometimes they are being sodomized by their own colleague children. I have happened to study in a boys' school, a very big boys' school in Nakuru County those years. But I can tell you, so many boys left school, so many boys transferred, so many boys got really hurt during that time. There was a lot of sodomy, there was a lot of bullying, and it's a boys' school. And who are doing this? Boys doing it to the other boys. So other children can also do it. Now, I'll move with speed because we have had a discussion of these issues before so that we can have that interactive session later on. But you as a teacher, you have a role to play. One of your roles as a teacher is to prevent. Before anything else, you need to prevent. And how do you prevent? By you coming to seminars like this. You coming to forums like this. At least you'll have information on what is happening and the forms and the channels that you'll have to use. Prevention. 2, you have to detect. You are a teacher. You teach a class of 40, and there is one particular boy who sits either in front or behind. Believe you me, you can be able to detect that that boy or that child has been molested or is not in his or her element. So apart from prevention and detection, you also have to respond. How do you respond? Of course, we'll look at the channels of escalating this. Later on, apart from responding, you need to report. One boy, at one point in time, came to the class teacher. The class teacher, I think, is now that they are getting in. That is why I deliberately had to ask that class teacher to come. Has done everything right. Has even gone to down to the grassroots and done his research properly. Found that this baby had been molested. He's a class teacher, has engaged the parent, has engaged everybody, but the teacher did not involve the school head teacher. The school head teacher did not report to the next level. That is probably the police or the children department. So when the investigating team came from Nairobi, when they came from Nairobi, my friend, as we are speaking today, that head teacher is not in service. He's serving his interdiction because at some point he dropped the ball. So you have to report. You as the beacon teacher, of course I'll talk about the beacon teacher, and the counseling teacher also. What did you do? So how do you prevent abuse? Of course, you can come to forums like this. You can, of course, do it as we do it in school. That is through the CBC. CBC today teaches about sexual reproduction. That is through, maybe let us call it sex education. All these, you'll find them in schools today. There are organizations like the Gender Violence Recovery Center. There are others who are out there that can help in disseminating this information to people so that people don't work out of ignorance. There are suggestions on how you can prevent violence against boys. First of all, understand the boys well. How do you interact with them? Apart from you teaching and going home, because that is the slogan that we have today. Because serikali imetusumbua sana, haitatulipa mshahara mpaka dini tarehe 28, teach and go home. That is what most of us do. So get forums. Through those games activities, sometimes call these boys, ask them, how can we handle this? What do you think about this? Get forums with the GVRC or any other organization that is closest to you. Understand them. They'll give you solutions, they'll give you problems, and of course, sorry for that. So that is one way in which you can do it. You also need to know and speak against all forms of abuse. You need to know and speak against all forms of abuse. Brother usijali, ndio maana masaibu ya boy child. Tunaendelea. Asante. So you need to know and speak against all forms of abuse, against the boys. As you speak violence against the girls, also learn to speak about the boy. The GVRC are very close partners, especially in the sports and the games. Recently, they were in Kajiado for the regional ball games, leave alone the one that took in Narok for the athletics. When they were coming, they were bringing the dignity kits. And these dignity kits, as they are dealing with the girl child, equally they are dealing with the boy child, so that this boy child does not feel neglected, as it were. In our schools, we have clubs. In my school, there is a club that is called Glow Club. Glow Club deals with the girl child. What about the boy child? If we don't come up, we don't be innovative enough and come up with these things in our schools, the boy child will be feeling left behind, and even performance-wise, they'll be affected. So we also need to be a role model to stop sexual harassment. As you are talking about these boys, you as the lady teacher, you as the male teacher, how is your behavior? How do you behave yourself, either in school or outside? Wezi kuambia yule boy child usiingie into drugs na wewe ndio uko kwa front line. Wezi kumwambia don't harass, kuwa safe from harassment na wewe ndio mtu wa kwanza kuharass and your name is circulating in the neighborhood. Another suggestion is that you can do networking with relevant authorities. I've given you a classic example of Gender Violence Recovery Center who have never failed us. We now have our new friends. I think it's about that time that you had your networking proper. And of course, you can also create awareness by having the child helpline number, that is 116. And the others, I'm sure David, by the end of the day today, will be able to give us. And finally, you can teach the Do Not Touch My Private Parts song. It's a song that has been taught here in Kenya. It is now being taught across in Tanzania, in East Africa, and now Africa, because Beacon Teachers Africa now is global, or is now has gone to Africa. The private, Do Not Touch My Private Parts songs, I'll just sing it here because I don't have any other forum to. These are my private parts, private parts, private parts. These are my private parts. No one should see them. No one should touch them. No one should squeeze them. If you touch my private parts, private parts, private parts. If you touch my private parts, sitanyamaza, sitakimya, nitakusema, utafungwa jela, utakosa kazi, utakosa pesa, utalia sana, utalia kwi. Simnipige makofi kidogo jamani. Kuimba si rahisi manake, eh? So, ladies and gentlemen, those are some of the suggestions on how you can prevent violence against the boys. And how can you detect very quickly sudden change of behavior? I've already talked about it. There are learning problems. A boy who used to be number 1 at the top now is around number 50, number 100. You've seen these things happening in your schools. Another in which you can detect is anxiety. This boy is overly compliant. That if it is homework, done. If it is classwork, done. If he is arriving in school, arrives very early, but does not want to go home, leaves very late. That is another red flag. Of course, the other sign is that these children can be having bruises, injuries, torn clothes, missing clothes. These are boys, and there are boys in your classes, in your schools. So those are some of them. And some of them, they get into peer pressure and then they engage into drug and substance abuse. Alcoholism, the uptake of bang. As I'm seated here, I'm a Beacon teacher, yes. But because of the training that I've undergone, I'm able to detect some of them. 2 of them, they are candidates in my class this year. These 2 boys, of course, when one female teacher was teaching in class, one of them showed some queer behavior. And he's a very sharp boy. and this is a class teacher. Wakati alimleta kwa ofisi, this boy had to open up. Teacher, you see, I've not disrespected teacher so and so. Because teacher so and so, I respect her so much. She teaches me very well, and her subject is my favorite. The only problem that I have is that I have a problem. I have a problem at home. On further asking, this boy said that he is abusing bang, sadly. Today as we speak, he is still in school. He's work in progress. But the boy child today is undergoing through a lot. Those are my examples. You have your own examples. That is why I'm rushing through this, so that we can have that interactive session. Because these cases, they are similar across. Go to West Pokot, go to Elgeyo Marakwet, go to Baringo, go to Kajiado, go to Homa Bay, Nakuru, Nairobi, similar. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also to respond. How do you respond? You listen attentively to the boy child. You also respect confidentiality. That boy has come to my office, just the two of us. But tomorrow, you will find that that story is all over the staff room, is all over the village, and that boy confided in you. The other one is that the teacher must report to the head teacher or the beacon teacher. Those are some of the ways in which you can respond. You can also work with the child protection union officers. You can work with the board of management, the parent teachers associations, and of course, any organization, any. Usingoje mpaka GVRC wakuje. Any organization that is closest to your school. You can also respond by teaching these children the no-go-tell rule. You say no to an unsafe situation. You go, you live away from that situation. You can run away, you can move away from that situation, and eventually tell. You need to tell someone that you trust about that unsafe situation. As a boy, you need to do that. And these violated boys, how do you manage them? You can manage them by controlling your body language, your tone. If your tone is as big as mine, you can try to bring the tone down so that you reason together. I feel hata ni mwanaume kama wewe. Alafu kutoka hapo utaona itaflow. It has happened. I have done it in my own small ways. You can also do it. You also need to stay calm. Because some of them have been abused. They tend to be defensive. Therefore, you need to calm down. You have to listen. You also need to offer a way out. Don't just listen and let that boy continue going through what he's going through. You need to find a solution. Either you take them to safe houses and create safe spaces for them. And do not make threats. As you are talking to these boys, do not make threats. Usiponiambia leo nitakunyonga, leo nitakuua. Leo utanijua, utajua wanaume ni wangapi na wewe si mmoja wao. Definitely that boy will not be able to open up, as it were. And do not make predictions. Do not make predictions about the situations that they are going through. Hii lazima ni wewe. You are the root cause. And that is one of the problems that the boys are going through. Their cases are not seen as legit. And you also need to maintain safety. If you are a lady teacher, because some of them they trust the ladies so much, you need to be safe. Because huyu mtoto, because amepitia mengi. I wish one of my teachers now today is away on holiday. That boy was in his class when he was in grade 6. Those years ilikuwa ni standard 6. He's a grown boy. Lakini wakati alimfikisha level fulani, that boy had to fight back. Alipiga mwalimu hii kitu, alimpiga ngumi. Mpaka mwalimu aliishia kuzirai hapo na tukaanza kushughulikia. So ladies and gentlemen, as you are dealing with this, there are children who are going through a lot. You need to find ways in which you can be able to address them. Why don't boys report? Umesikia kesi nyingi ni za girls. Kesi nyingi ni za girl child. Why not the boys? Is it that these things are not happening? They are happening, but there is a problem. The problem is these boys sometimes feel they are responsible. Wao ndio walijipeleka kwa hiyo situation. Hebu angalia sasa, huyu ni mtoto ana train ball, ameenda kule coach wake, yeye ndiye ameenda huko ku train because anapenda ball. Sometimes they feel responsible for it. And some of us, the teachers, the caregivers, we downplay the abuse and think that they were not abused. Unasema nini? Ati anko yako akakusodomize. Wewe wajua na hizi mabangi zako. Already umemshat. You have shared very important information. Don't downplay the abuse. So boys don't report because they lack support. Sometimes the community, as it were, wewe ni mwanaume, kaa ngumu. But for how long? Some of them fear other children. They fear being mocked. Imagine a boy wa class 8 amesodomaiziwa na mtu wa boda. Na unajua maboys wa class 8 wana feel wao ni mabazenga. Amesodomaiziwa na mtu wa boda. What will the other girls in that class think? What will the other boys in that class think about that boy? Is huge, is big, but amesodomaiziwa. So they fear other children. There is no safe space. Mara unasikia hii organization ina deal na issues za girls. Hii organization ingine ya girls. But boys didn't know that also they have a place they can report to. Now, this is the information that we want to lay out there, that you as a boy, if you are molested, there is somewhere you can report to. They also believe or hope that abuse will end. Let us assume is an uncle. And this uncle is the one who provides uniform, provides textbooks, provides fees. And you want to you want this boy to go and report, and then of course he'll lack these essentials. And therefore he says that I believe one day, one time, this abuse will end. At that time, inaendelea. One particular boy, sodomy ilianza grade 3. Today as we speak, he's in grade 7. How many years has that boy suffered in the hands of the uncle? The uncle is a mechanic here in Nakuru County. Maybe ndiye anakutengezea ile gari yako. Ladies and gentlemen, the other reason why boys don't report abuse is that, of course, the make-up period offer violence resources, offers reassurance that it attaches them emotionally, the bond. I think I'll explain that point another time. Let me leave it at that. Lakini kuna bond ambayo, alafu unapata mtoto kama alikuwa amezoeshwa kupiga punyeto, I'll say it as it is, sorry for our viewers, but kama alikuwa amezoea kupiga punyeto, anataka kuendelea kufanya hiyo. So sexually anakuwa aroused, anataka kuifanya tena na tena. So anaona kama ni pleasure. Just like that guy, that boy of mine who smokes weed. He has not stopped, but he has reduced the uptake. What are the effects? What are the effects of gender-based violence against boys? 1, homicide or suicide. Some of them have killed themselves. Look at the classic example just a few years ago. There is that boy in Limuru who killed the entire family. Who killed the entire family? Thank you. Who killed the entire family at night, even including the watchman? What do you think that boy was going through? Those are the after effects of violence against these boys. Injury or shock. Some of them, if they open up to you or the doctors give you their medical examination reports, they have anal injuries. Some of them, their bowels are running because they have been molested. Kabisa, kabisa. To these doctors, they'll tell you the things that they see there every day, every time, all the time, they are so saddening. Some of them can be disabled. Yeah? A very young child who is 3 years old, 5 years old, is not properly developed. Therefore, if you went that direction, there will be disability and even sleeping disorders. Unaona mtoto ni usiku lakini anaota. Of course, there will be reproduction problems. The STIs, HIV and AIDS, infertility. as a result of those things that we're talking about. Some of them, they have gone into masturbation. And of course, at the end of the day, when the time is right, they are unable to give rise to offsprings because of this kind of violence that they are going through. And also, some of them, the other effects will be increased gender inequality and social and economic problems. Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm almost coming to the end of this session, we said reporting is very crucial. Yes, you've detected, you've responded, but how do you report? To whom do you report? A child has been abused. You are the beacon teacher in your school. So the first line of defense of that child is you, the beacon teacher. But because I've not told you who a beacon teacher is, you are the teacher in charge of counseling. You are the teacher who has been given that responsibility. First, it is for you to detect, like we said earlier on, you as the beacon teacher or the counseling teacher. Then from there, don't let it rest on your table. Escalate it to the head teacher. And I'll tell you what will happen if the head teacher is the perpetrator, or you, the teacher, if you are the perpetrator, what will happen in that case and scenario. From the head teacher will be able to either escalate to the children's department or even the police, engage the board of management, the PTA, the board of governors, board of management, and of course from there, they'll be able to take this child to a hospital. Zamani ilikuwa tunasema public hospital. But I believe even if you went to the Nairobi Women's Hospital, is a private hospital, yes, but they'll be able to sort you big time. Zamani ilikuwa unasikia hii peke yake unaweza peleka kwa public hospital. But today, any hospital that is nearest you will be able to sort you. Then from the public hospital or the private hospital, you can be able to take this matter to the police, for the police to process this. And of course, in the police stations, there is the children department. They'll be able to manage the case and of course provide psychosocial support. And from there, you can engage in guidance and counseling. And from there, the law will take its course. Ladies and gentlemen, as all this is happening, as you are reporting through these channels, you as the beacon teacher, at no time should you miss in action. Follow to the logical conclusion of the case, to the end. What does the law say? Is there a law that will protect these boys? Let us start from the school level. Do we have a law that will protect these boys? Yes, most definitely. There is no government, there is no institution, there is no society that lives in a vacuum, that there is a lacuna in law, that will say that there are no enough laws that will protect the boy children. Go today and look at the TSC circular number 6 of 2017 that talks about no physical force should be inflicted or pain on these children. The Children's Act of the year 2001, no child should be subjected to torture or cruel treatment. There is the TSC legal notice number 56 of 2001 that banned corporal punishment. You as a teacher, wakati umeshika hiyo kiboko, umepiga yule boy child, umeharibu ni scrotum. Walimu wa science, this scrotum mama ni umeharibu hiyo part. Because it has happened, there are 2 children that umeona kwa news recently, umeharibu. What are the legal implications? Look at the TSC legal notice of number 56 of 2001. There is the Basic Education Act of 2013 that no children should be subjected to torture or degraded. There is the TSC code. Kienda interviews, the TSC code, you have it. The TSC code of conduct of 2005. Yes? And also the Kenyan Constitution. So kama hujasoma hizo zingine zote, umesoma Constitution, chapter 4. What does it say? What provisions does it give to the child? And of course, we have other legal frameworks that will protect this boy child. So if you wanted maybe to report this, you can use the Childline Kenya helpline, that is 116. The Kenya Police helpline, that is the 99112. You can also use the Kenya National Gender-Based Violence helpline, that is 1195. And I'm sure GVRC also will be giving more as we are on with this session. They'll be giving even more helplines that are toll-free. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to tire you, but I want to tell you who a Beacon teacher is and what we have done in Nakuru County so that I can invite David to take us through to the next session. Beacon teachers, these are teachers who have been trained. They have been trained with, by the Gender Violence Recovery Center in conjunction with the Teachers Service Commission and the Ministry of Education. They identify a few teachers in every county, they train them severally until these teachers' behavior, the way he carries himself or she carries herself is beyond reproach. Then from there, of course, there are certificates that are awarded, and of course, a group is formed, a very formidable, strong group that you can escalate among each other. There's a case in my school, there's a case in your school, there's a case in her school, that you are able to network and be able to make this load easy. It is not easy. It is difficult, but you can make it. If I've made it, you can also make it. Because those colleagues of mine who are employed together here and they are here, they can tell you the kind of a teacher I was then and the kind of a teacher I am today. And as you are being trained by the Gender Violence Recovery Center, the Beacon Teachers Movement, it has given some of us an opportunity to go across Kenya. I have been to Mombasa, Malindi, West Pokot, as I told you, to train colleague teachers like you and I. But we can as well say that charity begins at home. If I'm here and I'm your Beacon teacher chair in Nakuru County, why do I need to go to West Pokot to go and give information there when you are here next door and you don't have this information? So the Beacon Teachers Movement it started from here in a few counties. It is there in Eastern Africa. It is now in Africa. That is where we say Beacon Teachers Movement, where passion powers action. The Beacon Teachers Movement has given rise to another smaller champion, that is the Kings and Queens Club. The Kings and Queens Club is made up of boys and girls who have a patron and a matron as their king and their queen. It's a small group that will have a regular discussion like we are having today on matters gender-based violence. Of course, they have their own small speak-out box. The speak-out boxes, the Nizile Munaita suggestion boxes, the GVRC has distributed them to schools. And if you wanted maybe your school to have one speak-out box, it works miracles. You can contact the Gender Violence Recovery Center so that they can be able to give you that. So through the Kings and Queens, half of the problems that have been there in my institution particularly, let me speak about my institution with authority because I am there, that half of the problems that we used to have in class, we've been able to sort that through the speak-out boxes, through the Kings and Queens Club. The first cohort of the Kings and Queens Club, they did their KCSE last year. Most of them scored A's. They took this to their secondary schools, the Njoro Girls High School, the Nyaururu Boys High School, and so many other schools. And from there, we can be able to say that this Kings and Queens Club is something that starts small, it is growing, and it is even going global. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are the benefits of being a Beacon teacher? One of it is it gives you platforms and opportunities. This morning, I was from a safari. From where? From Eldoret. The national ball games that are happening there at the Hill School, at the Moi Girls High School. 2-3 days ago, I was in Narok. For those who happen to be in Narok, was Olentimama Sports Stadium. I was there at the regional level and even at the national level. And it keeps giving you opportunities. Apart from the material things that you look for, it will give you also an opportunity to move across Kenya. So I want to rest my case there and say thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is a conversation that will not end today. And of course, I want to wish you well as we go to the next session. Asante sana, David.
Uh, I don't know if my mic is on still. Another round of applause to Mwalimu Njaberi. And I want to first of all still echo that today is that we're marking the second time that we are doing the campaign. And what we are calling this campaign is a blue umbrella. As you can see, on top here, there's a blue umbrella. So those are the signs, the blue umbrella day. That is, and it's actually courtesy of family for every child, Kenya. And we just had an introduction. We've had time with the Mwalimu Nyaberi ambaye amezungumzia masuala nyeti ama masuala ambaye yanahusu kijana, as in the boy child. Si ni kweli? Na I think mmeweza kuelewa mambo mengi sana Ms. Nyaberi ameeleza. Actually ametuambia mambo ya forms za GBV and I believe definitely sitazirudia na mmezielewa. Kuna mambo na physical violence zenye wanapitia, kuna mambo na hiyo ubakaji, na ameongea kuhusu vile wanadhulumiwa hata kimapenzi na walimu wao na everyone else. I think ameeleza kinaga ubaga na ameweza kutueleza hata walimu, unawezaje kujua kijana ambaye amedhulumiwa. Si ni kweli? Ameweza kutueleza hiyo pia. Ametuambia pia hata ile movement ambaye tuko nayo sisi na GVRC kati ya Beacon Teachers ambaye ni movement iko kwa walimu na iko katika nchi mzima ambaye wamekuwa wakizunguka wakijaribu kuangalia ama kuangazia masuala ya GBV. Si ni kweli? Na akatuelezea pia how, na akatuelezea reporting lines. Si ni kweli? Kule unaweza report. So sijui kama wamefurahia hiyo. Maybe we give him also another round of applause. Asanteni sana wale ambaye wameweza kukaribia ama wenye wametujoin na wale ambaye wako Facebook. So this is a campaign ambaye imekuwa ni inaitwa Blue Umbrella, na tuko na sehemu mbili ambazo tumeanza na ya kwanza ambaye ilikuwa ni mwalimu wetu Calvin alikuwa anatuelezea kidogo ama ametuelezea kwa udi na mbali vile mambo yalivyo. So the next session tutaenda in a break actually, na this session ni yenyu walimu. So walimu mmekuwa mkikaa pale, mmekuwa mkitusikiza. Sasa ni wakati wenyu, mtakuja hapa mbele wakati tutajaribu kutafuta walimu wawili ama watatu ambaye tutakuwa naye a session. Hii session itakuwa inaangazia mambo ya vile unaweza, bado tutaendelea kwa sababu mimi niliwaambia mimi ni mwanasaikolojia, na mwanasaikolojia that is a counseling psychologist within Nairobi Women's Hospital, na sana sana hawa vijana wamekuwa wakisafa upande wa psychology, that is on their mental, their emotional, and their physical. Lakini kidogo Nyaberi mwalimu amezungumzia kidogo, lakini tutaingia ndani kabisa mambo ambayo huwa mnaona na kisaikolojia inakuwa ikiwa affect aje. Hiyo yote ni contribution yenu na tutakuwa tukikaa hapa mbele na tutajadiliana. That one will be an easy session ambaye ni ya kujibizana tu na kuongea. So karibuni sana. So I think what we will do, we'll just take a break for now. Na bado maandishi itakuwa inaoneshana ni ya GVRC. Wale ambayo unaweza tupata, tuko kwa Facebook pale na bado tuko kwa Twitter, na tutawaelezea kwa Twitter handles, Twitter Kenya, na tutawaelezea hizo IG tuko bado GVRC at Kenya. So tutaendelea na kuwaeleza. So we take a short break bwana mwalimu. Next time wenye tunakuja kuna walimu ambao watajitolea na tutazungumza mambo zaidi ya pale tumefikia. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
check mic. Check mic. Check mic. Check mic. Check. 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 Check mic. Check mic. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check.
We're good. Thank you so much for coming again. Thank you so much kwa hiyo break ambayo tumekuwa nayo. As we had said, we have umbrellas which you can see here. The campaign still is the Blue Umbrella Day, courtesy of Family for Every Child Kenya. Na hii ni campaign, ama it's been a campaign that has been running throughout the world. All talking about the violences that are happening to boys. Okay, so the boy child is what we are talking about. And this time round, nimefurahia kuwa tuko na a panel today. Help me just give them applause because of just accepting to join us. So, kwa extreme right, niko na bwana George Omolo, anatoka katika shule ambayo inaitwa ya Melvin Jones, atajieleza. Bwana George, labda ujiintroduce kidogo na useme wewe ni mwalimu wa labda ni subject gani, ndio at least we get to understand that you are a teacher.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is George. I teach in Melvin Jones Lions Academy. I do teach maths and computer science. The rest I will let you know as time goes by. So thank you.
Asante sana bwana George. We have another lady na tumeamua leo, hata kama tunaongea kuhusu the boy child, at least tunakuanga na girl child, na in fact hii vita hatuwezi kushinda bila kuwa na a lady within us or the ladies within us, even in the panel. Na this time round I want to introduce Florence from Yawi. Maybe atajiintroduce ndio aweze kueleza what she does, and just briefly kidogo ndio tuweze kujua.
Habari zenu tena. Mbona mmeboeka hivyo? Hamjachangamka? Kwa majina naitwa Florence Mogore. Nafanya na shirika linaitwa Yawi, Young African Women Initiative. Tuna deal na masuala ya wanawake. Tunawahimizisha waelewe haki zao, na pia tuna deal na issue za GBV. Asanteni.
Applause for Florence. Thank you so much, Florence, for joining us here, even as accepting to be on our panel. We will also introduce another person who's on the extreme, probably my left, but not extreme, but second last, huko. Anaitwa Bwana Saul Olembo. Atatueleza kidogo kwa chenye anafanya, ni mwalimu pia. Yeah.
Asante sana. Mimi naitwa Saul Olembo ulivyosema, lakini hali maarufu kama Shizo. Kenya. Mimi ni mwanamuziki na pia mwalimu wa muziki. So I've done a lot. Shule ni nyingi sana. Nimekuwa Kenya nzima.
Okay.
In matters of music.
Yes. Thank you so much, mwalimu.
Yes.
Watu wa muziki, at least we appreciate. Na umesema hiyo jina ni gani?
Shizo.
Shizo.
Yes.
Okay. Kwa maarufu Bwana Olembo, but anaitwa Shizo kwa jina la kimuziki. The extreme end tulikuwa naye ni yule mwalimu mmoja, Bacon teacher, chipukizi sana mwalimu yule. Actually hajatuambia kabisa yeye also ako na talanta ingine ambayo anakuanga naye. Labda kama anajiintroduce atueleze talanta yake.
Marafiki zangu ni tena nimerudi, ni Nyaberi Calvin. Nyaberi Calvin ni Beacon teacher, chair, Nakuru County chapter and national steering committee member. I'm the face of what we keep doing. I've been a brainchild of GVRC, and I'm that light. So this is Beacon Teachers Africa, where passion powers action. Apart from hiyo kazi, I'm also an MC and a national material master of ceremony kwa hizo games za primary na secondary schools. Asante.
Bas hapo ni hajatueleza kabisa, lakini sana sana yeye kwa zile ball games alikuwa mnasikia kiwaelezea yeye, isipokuwa kuwa yeye ni Bacon teacher na ni mwalimu, na sijui kama amebobea kwa Kiswahili, kwa jiografia hakutueleza, lakini Labda tueleze.
Kwenye regionals, wale ambao wamekuwa kwenye regionals, yule ambao umesikia akitumia microphone sana kule ndani ya Narok William Ole Ntimama Stadium ndio huyu Calvin. Wale ambao mmekuwa Hill School tangia jana na juzi, ile sauti ambayo umekuwa ukisikia ni ya Nyaberi Calvin. Kwa hiyo ni all of. Otherwise asanteni sana.
Usilegeshe hiyo mic, lakini hebu tuipatie kidogo waweze kuelewa kidogo commentator ya mpira.
Anageuza pale ni Manchester United, anageuza pale Arsenal, anakuja kule kisigino cha mjini kinaita, anavisha kanzu kule, anakubali yaishe, wanakuja kule Manchester United kwenye wingi ya kushoto kule, wing wanurwaza, piga kitu kile, toka nje.
So at least thank you so much mwalimu, at least umetupatia kitu ambaye ni changamoto ambaye at least sasa tunaweza, si ndio? Na wale wengine ambao ni chipukizi pale saizi, niliwaambia saizi ni ile ya kuengage, si kweli? Sasa sijui kama mwalimu unaweza tuimbia kidogo, na lakini Florence yeye, lakini mwalimu kidogo unaweza tuimbia kama utuambie.
Mzazi, punguza hasira we, oe baba muzazi, punguza hasira we, wewe baba muzazi, punguza hasira. Baba muzazi, punguza hasira we, hasarani.
Tena tumpe makofi. Aya, last time hata amenikumbusha. Asante sana mwalimu kwa vile umesema bwana baba apunguze hasira. Na hili jambo lilinenewa wakati tulikuwa na ile umbrella nini ya baba na kijana. Vijana walikuwa wameandika barua kwa baba zao. Usitake kujua waliwauliza aje. Baba, mbona unapiganga mama kila jioni tukija kutoka shule? Unaona, hasira zile zimekuwa zikiumiza kijana na huwa hasemi. Na akamuuliza, baba, mbona mwingine akaandika, baba, mbona unakuanga na hasira mingi tu sana? Kila saa hatuwezi. Asante sana mwalimu kwa kusema, baba punguza hasira tafadhali. Okay. Now, tulikuwa tumesema we are making this easy na ni interactive, na ndio maana nikaona kumbe watu wangu wa panelists wako sawa kabisa. Sasa wacha tuingie. Masuala ambayo ninataka tuzungumzie ni kwamba mimi kama mwana saikolojia kuna mambo ambaye nimekuja nikigundua ama nakumbana naye pale kwa hospitali. Mwanzo nilikuwa nimesema nafanya kazi na GVRC, na GVRC inakuanga domain in Nairobi Women's Hospital hapa Nakuru. Kwa sababu ya wale ambaye hawajui, tuko na hospitali 3 Naivasha, tukianza upande wa kule chini tunakuanga na GVRC pale. Na kama ni wale ambaye ni walimu na unataka walimu ambaye wako Naivasha, mungependa kuwajulisha kama kuna pahali wanaweza report pale Nairobi Women's Hospital, na watapata usaidizi kwa kijana yoyote ama msichana yote ambaye amedhulumiwa. Hapa Nakuru tuko na hospitali 2 pale town ambaye ni CBD karibu na National Bank. Hapo tuko na hospitali nyingine. Na pale 58 pale ambaye palikuwa ni Tuskys ya zamani, pale nyuma pale after umetoka Kunsti umekuja hivi pale nyuma huko tuna hospitali nyingine ambaye mimi huwa nafanya kama counselor pale. Na nimekuwa nikipata baadhi ya vijana venye nilikuwa nawaelezea ambaye wamedhulumiwa, na swali ambaye leo tunataka kujua, kuna mambo ambaye hawa vijana wanapitianga, that is psychological effects zao. Na besides our panelist, mmoja atatoa tu moja akisema psychologically kijana akiweza kudhulumiwa ni nini ina happen kimafikira na kimawazo yake, apart from physical, psychologically ni nini. Na Nyaberi, ndio wewe nitatupia hii ball, pasi ni kwako. Kwanza wewe ndio ulikuwa umetuelezea mambo mingi about the types, na ukaweza kueleza walimu ambaye uliwaeleza how they can report, but kuna hizo psychological effects ulikuwa umetaja baadhi, lakini tuko nazo, but sasa maybe nataka tusikie walimu, kwa sababu hao ndio wenye wanaua na watoto, lakini hao ndio wanajua wanaonanga watoto wakibehave kivipi katika shule zao. Labda utuelezee ukiwa mwalimu.
Nilivyotangulia kuwajuza hapo mapema nilipokuwa nikizungumza ni kwamba a classic example of a boy in my candidate class this year, fortunately or unfortunately the class teacher is here. So wakati babake amempiga nyumbani, yule kijana amekuja shule amefura kila sehemu, kichwa, mikono, miguu. Kumbuka 1 week earlier alikuwa amevunjika mguu. Amevunjika mguu akiendesha baiskeli. So hii beating amepata ni kwa sababu ya hiyo. Babake ni long distance driver. Amekuja amepata kwamba kijana amevunjika mguu, anahitajika 6,000. Yule kijana amevunjwa proper. You know how I knew that this boy has a problem? Psychologically amekuwa affected. Aliambia, unajua mamangu waliachana na Fadhe. Sasa Fadhe hiyo hasira yake ananiletea. Ticha, kweli ukiangalia vile nimepigwa hivi, mimi ni mtoto wa mtu. Shule staki na nimeamua sasa kama mbaya nimeamua kwenda. Niwaondoke hii dunia mfanye vile mnataka. The class teacher is here. So this psychologically mimi niliona kwamba mtoto amepigwa physically lakini psychologically imemwaffect vibaya zaidi. Otherwise those are things that are happening in our classes.
Nimesikia umejiita Schizo. Basi tueleze basi, maybe baadhi hata wewe maybe umekumbana na kitu kama hii kweli?
Yes, actually the boy child anayo matatizo, na kipindi kingi unapata ya kwamba hawa watoto huwa wanakuwa wanyamavu, huwa hawaongei, unanipata. So inakuwa ni vigumu sana wewe kama mwalimu pale kujua kama kuna jambo ambalo linamsumbua, unless you're very keen. If you're not keen, then definitely you realize ya kwamba mtoto ameanza mpaka kimasomo anarudi nyuma. So most of the times unapataga the character ya ule mwanafunzi inaanza kubadilika. Unapata on several occasions utarealize ya kwamba his or her character, the character of the boy child imeanza inabadilika. Masomo inakuwa ni vigumu, ile socializing na wanafunzi wenzake inakuwa ni ngumu na masuala kama yale. Yes.
Sana mwalimu. Na maybe tukiruka Florence hapo, labda ama Florence pengine una kitu ambayo maybe unaweza tueleza? Maybe kwa sababu sana maybe wewe si mwalimu, lakini ndio maana nilikuwa nasema, lakini labda umepatana na kijana ambaye amedhulumiwa. Sijui unaonanga aje kima wazo yake?
Sana ni kujitenga na wengine. Unaona hataki kuungana na wengine, anataka kukaa peke yake, na kama tuseme alikuwa na perform vizuri shule, unaona ameanza kurudi nyuma, ha perform vizuri tena. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Florence. Nataka want just to maybe also welcome Teacher George Omolo. I think you work with Melvin Jones as your school. And I'm very sure you have such kind of cases ambazo zina happen pale. Maybe you can tell us in just a short or a brief or something that you have gone through before maybe ni peane maybe the bigger chunk of what happens. Teacher George. And before maybe I take it back to our audience ama wale ambaye tuko hapa ambaye wamekuja walimu wale wengine, we just had a discussion and we were saying the child spends more time in school than at home. Si ni kweli? Sijui kama mnaniunga mkono, because we said kama mtoto anaingia saa 1 asubuhi anarudi saa 1 ya jioni ama kama 6, unajua wewe ndio mwalimu umespenda yule mtoto for the longest time, na mzazi kabla huyu mtoto amelala analala kama saa ngapi? Saa 2. So from 6 to 7, hizo ni hours ngapi? Kidogo sana. Na the only person huu mwenye amekana yeye amekuwa kimwangalia, anamwangalia behavioral ambaye anasomesha pale. Unaona huyu kijana alikuwa na perform, huyu kijana mambo ambaye amezungumzia, kijana ameperform, kijana ameanza withdraw. You are the teacher and you're the person who can psychologically tell mostly why and how this child is abused, and then we're able now to address it, because the boy child is not coming out to speak out, isn't it? Because they are stigmatized and many things like that. So before I throw it back to our audience na wale ambaye tuko nao hapa mbele, ningependa mmoja wenyu, labda somebody who's experienced such kind of a thing, na uko baadhi yetu, apatiwe mic, atuambie kidogo, maybe kamera itaenda kwake, atueleze kidogo naye changamoto ni gani ya vijana and what do you see psychologically, before now niweze kuambia vitu ambazo, baadhi ya vitu ambazo watoto wanapitia. Kunaye ambaye anaweza jitolea kusema? Mike ndio ile kule nyuma. Kuna ambaye any psychological problem unaona kwa watoto? Unajua hao wametuambia pale nyuma, maybe mwenye atajitolea ama ni pinpoint. The lady teacher, kuna any psychological problems unaona kwa nini? Maybe umpatie mic aone kama anaweza tuambia. Yeah, hi.
I deal with young children aged from 0 years to 8 years. That is my field. And most of the time, pia hawa watoto wana challenge. And when I interact, there was a time I interacted with a boy, and the way I know the boy, I definitely knew there is something. Just the way I saw her, I saw him. So this boy, amekuwa akiperform marvelous in class, but it happened, alikuwa top 10, but it happened this boy alianza kurudi nyuma na akakuwa na nyuma. So that is one thing you realize kuna shida. Na hiyo shida nilijua haiko shuleni, nilijua iko nyumbani. Na one thing niliona interaction yake na watoto wenzake ilikuwa very poor, because the boy kimwambia toke aende akacheze, anataka kukaa tu peke yake. Na
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Klapieni. Applause, eh? Asante sana mwalimu pale Njoro. You've really actually, kumbe these things have been happening. And before maybe I talk what I want to talk, nimejua kumbe hizi cases zinaendelea. Maybe we can have somebody from this other end. Labda mwalimu, kama unaweza tuambia kuna kesi kama hiyo labda umesikia, labda utueleze before we go on. Yeah, good afternoon.
My name is Kennedy. I'm a teacher, and what I can say is that maybe by the grace of God, I've been able to teach schools in the both system. I've taught schools in the British system, and I've taught school in public. And what I can say is that when you categorize those children, the boys, in the junior section especially, you'll see there is some difference. Number one, in the private section, you'll get a boy who is so much fatigued by the pressure is being given by the parent, depending on the type of money he's giving in school. You'll find a parent even coming to school to demand for 1 mark or 2 mark. That thing gives that boy a lot of pressure, and he tends to retrogressing back. Because and you'll find especially on Fridays, and you'll find that in those schools, especially private schools, they have some days, they have days that those schools have programmed themselves for games. And you observe those children during games time, they are very happy. They won't even, if you look on the register, the absenteeism is not there. Now you'll find that this child is being given a lot of pressure, and it will tell you that the boy will like to, for example, I won't mention the school I was teaching, but it is for the Asian, and they give a lot of attention on the boy child, and you'll find that the lady, the mother of the child, sometimes is physically abused. The mother of the boy is physically abused because the boy is not performing how the way the mother wants, the father wants. So it affects the child. How will you know that that child is affected? He comes up in school also violent. The boy can speak anything. He uses abusive language, and sometimes you can even know by handwriting. The way he used to write, he changes the handwriting, and he becomes so anakuwa mkali kabisa. Now, when it comes to these other public schools, you can see the boy is being fatigued by the way he dressed. Sometimes he comes to school, he has not combed, amekuja, he is not tucking. So we keep on telling, why are you not tucking in the child? The boy is reacting on something behind. There's a time whereby one of the boys was admitted in a hospital, and he said, I won't even listen to the doctor because he was to be amputed. He had an infection of the hand, and he was to be amputed. So when he was told the story about amputing, he refused until they called the teacher. So the teacher came and explained to the boy that, the reason why they want to remove this part is because ABCD. Then he said, that's all right. That's why I was concurring with you. We know more. When we say them, they know, and they also believe in us. So some of these challenges, sometimes they come, they want to fight, they don't want to write, they are not even carrying them, they are not tucking in, or they have the collar of their shirts, they have turned them up. It's because they are reacting on something that actually we need to address. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I see. Thank you so much even for expressing whatever you've expressed, because actually it is amongst the things that I was supposed to talk about, the psychological effects and things that you will be seeing. For those teachers probably maybe who have not yet come to term, maybe seeing ama kuona watoto na behavior zao, this is how it happens, yeah? So nitajaribu kuwa take through a few of the tendency ambazo mutakuja kuona watoto. One, imeongelewa, violence. When the child turns violent, then definitely you start seeing akichapa watoto wale wengine, then definitely something is wrong. Maybe before they never used to be violent, maybe they were just a quiet child, but all of a sudden you are realizing, yule mtoto ambaye nilikuwa nafunza, nowadays ameanza kuwa violent. So you start realizing something is happening, and that's when you take your role as a teacher. Tutakuja kuongea kuhusu hiyo na Bwana Nyaberi, but then tendency ni gani unaona? Another one is stigma. They go through stigma. Stigma ni kumaanisha any person who is violated, they don't want to speak about it, and this person becomes kuna yule mwalimu amesema mtoto anatoka nje mara kadhaa hataki kuwa kwa darasa, anaenda anakaa chini anajishika. So that person is stigmatized by the things that are happening at home, probably at maybe kuna perpetrator venye alisema, and you know mwalimu lituambia perpetrator anakaa tu kama wewe, hebu jiangalie ni wewe, meaning can be another teacher, can be a mwalimu of madrasa, can be a pastor, can be your neighbor actually, and those are the tendency. Another one is physical. Physically you can tell a child. Ile kesi ambayo nilitoa juzi, and a case I was dealing with at Nairobi Women's Hospital, it is through the teachers who talked about it, because this child was coming and he had a funny style of walking. This is an 8-year-old, I think 8, 9, 10 hapo. He was being abused by a person who he doesn't know. But then, because of this abuse, which was frequent, and he was being sodomized, that is, he was being defiled. He started walking funnily. You know, once your muscles, your anal muscles are tempered with, then you are not able to sit down properly, then you're not able to walk properly. So physically you can tell, yule kijana ambaye alikuwa anatembea hivi, nowadays he's having a funny to walk, then definitely. So when the teacher saw this, they realized, huyu mtoto lazima apelekwe wapi? So the mother was told, kujia mtoto wako, uende report police station. Actually it was in Ronda police station, kwa gender desk, alafu akatumwa Nairobi Women. After kuja kuangaliwa, actually even the doctor told me, you did not need to look at it twice. Ilikuwa iko na tears, the anal had tears. He was passing fecal unnecessary. So but tendency ndio hizo physically. Tuko pamoja? Walimu, what you check out with is that. Now another thing is rejected. Unaona mtoto ambaye anakaa kurejectiwa. Mtoto alikuwa anaacceptiwa most of the times, but anaanza kuji-isolate yeye mwenyewe kutoka kwa wale watoto wengine. That's when you start realizing huyu mtoto kuna kitu ambaye inaenda mbele. Please don't hesitate as a teacher. Honestly, you've done maybe a little bit of psychology, hata kama tunawafunza for now. Don't hesitate to say that huyu mtoto kulingana na vile nimekuwa nikimfunza, the tendency ambazo ameanza kuonekana naye, ameanza kujitenga na wale watoto wengine, then something, an abuse has happened. Another thing is antisocial behavior. Simeelewa yule mtoto wa mwenye amesema from that school, they start becoming violent and antisocial behavior, anatukana watu ovyo ovyo. Si ni kweli mwalimu ametuambia, as in they start abusive, they're abusive, they don't want to listen, they are not tentatively in class, they want to go out. All of a sudden too, then you realize those tendency, something psychologically is happening to this child, and there is need for you now to take charge. Now another thing is kuna suicidal ideation. Mwalimu Nyaberi alituambia kijana amekuwa akipigwa na baba yake, si ni kweli? And this child started saying, wacha ni waondokee kwa hii dunia. What does that tell you? That this child cannot bear it anymore, and psychologically is being tortured by the father. Suicidal ideation. Ukiona mtoto amekwambia hivyo, they are being tortured psychologically, okay? And there is need for help. Hapo mbele tutazungumzia. Another thing is, ukianza kuona mtoto ameanza kuwa bully, wachana na violence. Bully ni anaongea tu, anataka kusukuma watoto wale wengine, anawasukuma akitoka darasa, anaanza kuwapiga. Something I talked last time when we had nini here. Sijui kama mnajua ile syndrome ya cat syndrome. Cat syndrome inaenda hivi. Wewe baba mzazi unakasirikia mama. Simekasirikia mama? Labda mama hakupika nyama na ni nyama ambaye hukuleta. But umemkasirikia, umeanza kusema kwa nini hatukuli nyama kwa hii nyumba? Si vita itaanza. What you do ni ati unapiga mama. Si ni kweli? Mama ako na nguvu ya kukupiga? Hapana. Now syndrome inaenda. Kwa sababu hana nguvu ya kupiga, yule kijana ndio mwenye ana face the consequence. Mama naye anaanza kukaripia kwa sababu nguvu ya kupiga baba hana, na baba ameshaenda kulewa ama ameenda mahali pengi. So the violence turns to the child. Naye kijana kwa sababu amepigwa na mama, violence yake itaenda kwa nani? Kwa brother yake. Si ni kweli? Ataanza kupiga brother kama ako na mtoto wao mdogo. Si hata akianza alipojua huyu mtoto ako anxious, anaenda mara ngapi kwa choo, anaenda kuangalia anaenda kufanya nini. Si ni kweli? Na akarealize huyu mtoto amekaa chini anajishika. Realizing that definitely those are the things that definitely psychologically go through a tortured child. Tuko pamoja? Now another thing is they struggle with anger. Simuelewa? Violence na vitu kama hizo. They also struggle with emotionally. Trust me. If Nyaberi, ukiwa na kijana ambaye pale shuleni mama yake na baba yake wanapigana, do you want to tell me huyo kijana akija shuleni na walikuwa wamegombana mpaka mama yake akafukuzwa nje na kunanyesha, huyo mtoto atakuja kuperform aje shuleni?
Itakuwa ngumu kwa sababu zile effects za nyumbani zitakuwa zimedragiwa mpaka shule. Na wewe kama mwalimu kama hutakuwa makini tena, na utamuongezea zaidi kwa sababu utakuwa na expectation nyingi kuliko ile kawaida. So utataka behave normally, na kutoka nyumbani situation ni abnormal. Otherwise iko interrelated from home to school and vice versa is true.
Thank you so much. And why I want to say this ni kwa sababu angalia tendency hata wewe mwenyewe. The ladies maybe were here, mumegombana na bwana yako. How do you perform when you go to your workplace? Una perform aje? Are your spirits high at the same? Meaning emotionally you're not okay. Either bibi yako ana cheat ama kitu ingine. So even a child is always affected emotionally. Tuko pamoja? So with stigma na violence na emotions na physical na rejection na vitu kama hizo tumesema antisocial katibiwa, they played a trick on him. What is our role in this? Mimi nataka uchukue panel.
Kwa wale ambao walikuwa kwa hii class tangu hapo awali, tulisema role yako kama mwalimu kwanza, kama si kuprevent, kama uja prevent imeshafanyika, you have to detect. Like Madam Damaris detected that kid who was frequenting the toilet. You detect either by looking at the signs ambazo zile David ametuambia, ama we mwenyewe na ile intelligence yako kama mwalimu. Ukisha detect, definitely you have to escalate somewhere. You report somewhere. Na tulisema ukijua ama serikali ikijua, ulijua kwamba that boy had been violated, na wewe ukakalia information, wewe na yule perpetrator kikaango moja, kwa sababu ulikuwa na moral obligation ya kuescalate to the relevant authority.
Kama mwalimu ni number one identify, kujua tatizo liko wapi.
Kweli. Kwa
sababu unajua unapataga saa zingine walimu wenye wako hapa wanajua times unaenda na ile timetable yako ya kufunza. So at times unapata hauna ile nafasi. Labda this kid you have just seen the problem na ndio unakimbia unarush kwenda class. So I think it's always very important kurudi kuangalia, kufuatilia, ujue kwamba tatizo lilikuwa ni gani. Limetoka kwa shule, kwa sababu unajua Hii bullying saa zingine pia iko bado pale skuli pale kwa wanafunzi wengine ama kwa watoto wengine. Unaweza pata kuna mtoto mwingine ambaye ni mkubwa anabuli huyu mdogo. So ni mwanzo ujue chanzo kiko wapi. Kimetoka tokana na shule, kwa sababu unajua pia kuna walimu wengine ambao si wazuri. Unanipata? Utapata mwalimu ana stress zake za nyumbani amezileta mpaka kwa wanafunzi shuleni. So utapata kwamba yule mwalimu anabuli wale watoto, ama labda hata kama ni punishment anampatia inakuwa ni tofauti. So I think the most important thing ni ku identify shida iko wapi. Iko shuleni, kwa wazazi, kwa walimu, kwa wanafunzi wenzake, ama kutoka kwa wazazi nyumbani. Unanipata? So once identify where the problem is, then the next step ni uangalie kama ni jambo ambalo unaweza suluhisha wewe mwenyewe, kwa sababu kuna mengine si makubwa. Mengine unaweza ukamwita mtoto mkazungumza na yeye one on one, ukamwambia hapana usifanye hivi, kama ni hivi fanya hivi, ama jaribu hivi. So unapata imefanyika. Lakini ukipata labda kile kitendo ni kikubwa zaidi sana, then hautakuwa na mbinu nyingine unless ufanye report to the authorities. Maybe you of course unajua katika shule ni hierarchy. Uende kwa deputy umwambie nimepata hivi, and then principal, and then kama ni issue ya kuita wazazi wanaitwa, na kama si hiyo basi kama ni police case then it proceeds to the police station. Yes.
Kweli. Na nimekusikiza na nikasikiza kabisa, na nikasema I think the role yako ni ku-identify, because wewe ndio uko na yule mtoto kwa masaa yale mengi kweli. Na again tutaongelea kuhusu na reporting lines, hiyo tutaingilia. Na je
unajua walimu tuko tofauti.
Yeah.
Kuna yule mwalimu ambaye anaweza interact na mtoto rahisi, na kuna yule mwalimu ambaye mtoto anaogopa.
Yeah,
unanipata? So like I had a case whereby kijana hataki kwenda nyumbani. Wakati muda wa kwenda nyumbani umefika, lakini hataki kwenda nyumbani because we had already finished your class ya music. So nashindwa ni mbona hutaki kwenda nyumbani? So nikakuja nikarealize anaogopa kuna vurugu nyumbani. Sasa akienda nyumbani anaona ni kama atapigwa, yani ana ile hofu. So that's why from the inception part of it nilisema the character of the boy utapata imebadilika. Unaona? So amehofia tu, hataki kwenda nyumbani. So watoto wengine wanaenda nyumbani lakini hataki kufanya nini? Hataki kwenda nyumbani. You can imagine such kind of a scenario. Kumbe kule nyumbani kuna vurugu, kuna vita kali sana kule. So he feels like the environment does not favor him.
Kabisa, examples ziko na sisi. Walimu ni sisi ambaye tuko hapa, ambaye tumerepresent wale walimu wengine, ni kumaanisha hizi examples tuko nazo. Na before tuirushe kwa wale wengine ambaye tuko nao, baadhi ya walimu ambaye tuko nao, because we would want to listen more about what you do about this thing. Ama role yako leo juu umekuja, role yako ni gani? So tutaruka, muniruhusu turuke Madam Flo, at least tukuje kwa mwalimu ambaye ni George, ambaye ni wa Melvin. Maybe he can tell us a little bit more on what is their role now as a teacher, and now that maybe pengine hauja join kwa ile Bacon Teachers, and maybe you are aspiring maybe to join that, because again umeisikia imeelezewa hapa. So what is your role maybe in Melvin Jones? How do you escalate these issues? Talk about it, because it is something after he could realize na umemtreat na amepelekwa ninio, kuna kitu inaitwa therapy, si ni kweli? Now in therapy, even when that mtoto anakuja, mimi simjui, si ndio? Na sijakuwa mwalimu wake kwa muda mrefu, si kweli? Lakini ni lazima ni create ile kitu inaitwa a relationship. Ndio hiyo Bwana George amesema arapo ni kupatia yule mtoto nafasi ya kukutrust, that anaweza kukutrust, akusikize, uweze kumsaidia. So that one is a very good idea, where you teachers, you should create safe spaces, si ni kweli? Na pahali penye watoto wanaweza sema. Another thing amesema, please share information. Tumewaita hapa, and this day is Blue Umbrella Day, and we have shared with you that information. So why should you go back to school and not share with another teacher about how, and even the effects, and all this we've taught you? You need to share, because tunasemanga Mwalimu Nyaberi, information is very good. A problem half shared is a problem half solved or fully solved, isn't it? Again, we say information is power. So if you have power, if you're so much informed, even coming, and Mr. Nyaberi ulituambia kabisa, tafadhali walimu muende semina zile mingi sana. Nyinyi ndio macho yetu, nyinyi ndio tunaangazia, nyinyi ndio mko na watoto wetu kwa muda mrefu. Now, before now then tumetoka hapa, tunataka kuingia kwenyu. Na I believe you have something to say. And we will begin from maybe Sir here. What else do you think? What is your role? Personally, juu umeelezwa. Role yako itakuwa ni gani? Mtu atampatia maybe a small in you. Tutapata tu watu wawili, maybe, and then we, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Mjambo. Naitwa Peter. Mimi ni mwalimu katika shule inaitwa Kenjoket. Inapatikana Kuresoi North. Katika darasa utapata kuna wanafunzi wengi and from different background. And now you as a teacher, you should know how to handle them. One, to source information from these learners, first you must be their friend. You must bring them closer to you. Number two, you should go to their level, the way they think. If it is to pray, sometimes make joke with them. Through jokes, you'll find that someone will come and tell me, hey, teacher, this and this is happening to me. Another thing, you as a teacher, no, when you are in school, make your class heaven to these learners. Because you don't know what is happening at home. Sometimes utapata mtoto amekuja darasani, the boy is dirty, he look tired, and then you wonder, huyu mtoto ametoka wapi? And then when you talk to the boy, atakwambia, this and this is happening. Sometimes these boys, they are in a single parent family. And the only relative they have is their father. The father is a drunkard. So you as a teacher, you have to take a role as a father to that boy. Talk to the boy, you should talk to your own child. And by so doing, the boy will open up. I happened to teach a boy in a first school. He was in a lower class. And not once, nilipata mwalimu wake amemtoa nje, sema huyu mtoto ashiki kitu darasani. And then it happened. So when I was in lower class, I didn't know the boy well. So in my second school, the boy was admitted there, and it happened that he was in my class. I was the class teacher. So I had a history of the boy who ashiki kitu darasani, and wakati alikuja kuwa hivi, no, akasema hapana, it's from grade 3. Then so akiwa mtukutu, what is your reaction? Kaniambia, mimi huwa napiga huyu kijana sana. And it is true because kijana kuna wakati alikuwa ananionyesha mark huku ya mshipi. So I talked with the father. Nikamwambia, so for the time being, hii kiboko hii umempiga mtoto haijasaidia. So for the time being, hebu jaribu kuongelesha mtoto tuone kama atabadilika. After like a year hivi, the performance ya mtoto ikaanza kubadilika. Ule utukutu wa mtoto ukaisha. So despite of caning the child, we have our mouth can be a weapon to save the life of this child. Yeah. So
Asanti sana. Maybe ningependa kuongea 2-3 before maybe we get back to maybe wale ambaye wengine kabla ni draw. Kuna vitu ambaye nimeona. Number 1, kuna mambo nimeshika Bwana Nyaberi. Ule ametuambia kipaumbele kitu ambayo tunaweza fanya ni create friendship na wale watoto. Role yako ni gani kama mwalimu? You need to be a friendly teacher. Tuko pamoja? Haufai kuwa mwalimu ambaye unaweza kuwa unachapa watoto, hata kama unawachapa, but also be friendly. I like when you have a concoction of the two. Be very strict and then firm.
Alternative forms of discipline is a topic on its own that when we create time, we'll come to it, that you can work and work smart without the cane. Actually, what David is saying is that you be very firm but fair.
Very good. Mwalimu hapo amesema be very firm but fair. Tuko pamoja? Hata mimi pale nyumbani kama mzazi huwa nafanya hiyo sana. Siku ya kuchapa ni ya kuchapa. And honestly I do sorry but sitaki kusema tu ikiwa mbele kana mnazi na watu, lakini as an old parent ni huwa kiboko ni vizuri idumishwe. Si ni kweli? So that at least you do some discipline. Na mimi naye after nikisha discipline, baadaye kabisa na wapeleka pale out, tunajivinjari na walipia swimming. Yule tu alipiga mtoto na kiboko ni yule tu bado analipa pesa kwa swimming, ama namnunulia mtoto baby baiskeli, ndio? Because you also unafaa kuonesha love pamoja. And then the other thing is nimekuja kujua again mwalimu, you need to take the role of a parent. Listen to the child, listen to their behavior, listen. You don't have to listen ati usikize akikuja. Sorry, you have to listen to what they are saying, sindio? And the last one is you link. Kulink ni you link now that behavior into something else. You link this child, you need to talk to the father. Si umefanya link na umefanya mediation. So the principles za hiyo psychological first aid inakuanga ni look, listen and link. Hiyo ndio tunafanyanga. Hata kama utafanya kitu ingine, make sure unaona anatembea vibaya, umeita mama yake, umemwambia huyu kijana anahitaji kuoneka, umelink kwa polisi ama kwa hospitali. Are we together? So those three principles, about what is your role? Just a role as a teacher. Just a role.
Okay, my name is Gerald Ojode. I'm a computer science teacher at Melvin Jones. So the role of a teacher is key in upbringing of a child. All right? Now, the child usually apes what we do as teachers.
Mr. Nyaberi, Calvin. Now, this time round, kwa sababu ya vile masaa naona yanayoyoma na tuko at least kwa hii tumeenda sana na tumezungumzia kwa udi na mbali. Ama sijui Kiswahili kweli chanichenga, sijui kama ni kweli natamka matamshi penye inastahili ama sijui. Sasa nilikuwa nataka tuzungumzie what are the reporting. Sawa, tumejua mtoto anadhulumiwa. Tumejua sisi role yetu ni gani, tuna report wapi, what are our reporting channels. Hiyo ndio yenye ambaye tutafungia naye. Maybe wewe tutanisaidia tukianza hapo, tukija hivi, where do we report now? Mimi najua kuna baadhi ya zingine na ikifikia ni mimi ndawapatia another vitu za kusema.
Asante David. Nafikiri ile point ya mwalimu wa miaka imenifurahisha, manake amezungumza kuhusu kuwa role model. Role model inamaanisha kwamba wewe kama beacon teacher, even the way you present yourself, the way you prepare your lesson, wezi kuwa a beacon teacher ambaye anafanya counseling and you're looking so beaten. Ni kama sasa shida zako ni nyingi kuliko hata za yule mtoto. Hebu jicompose kwanza. Kama una tai nzuri nyonga, wajua ule jamaa hata nikienda anaweza nisaidia, anakaa na pesa. Hata kama sometimes I don't own a car but my colleagues do, but wananiambia hey teacher, luku ni safi, lakini si ungangane kidogo hata yeye na utafute gari kidogo yako. So meaning ule mtoto pia akikuangalia na anaona hapa anaweza pata assistance. Otherwise colleagues, wakati tumesema una report, of course your safety comes first. Let me start by saying that your safety comes first. As we are doing child protection, I have colleagues ambao tulianza nao that alitafutwa mpaka na bunduki na mishale na mikuki uko Kilifi. Today through the TSC na zile mechanism ziko, aliweza kusogezwa kwingine for his own safety. Usiseme ati mimi ndio beacon teacher sasa, mimi ndio nitakuonyesha sasa utajua ujui. Violence iko na way yake ya kufight back. So you need to escalate to where, for example, if you want to report these cases of violence, you can report to Childline Kenya helpline, that is 116. You can also approach Kenya Police, that is the National Police Service, through the 999 if it is that urgent, or the 112. Also, we have the Kenya National Gender-Based Violence Helpline, that is the 1195 number. All these numbers are toll free. Call even at night, during the day, in the dark, under the rain, they'll respond in real time and quickly, and of course, they will be able to cover you up and give you protection as it were. Asante David.
Asante sana bwana Calvin, na nimefurahia hapo penye umesema hata kama luku ni mzuri, tafadhali ngangana ununue kagari. Please, tafadhali usiangushe wale vijana wenzako. Imagine wanakuishia wewe kununua kagari. Si basi hata nao utawaambia someni kabisa ndio muweze hata mimi kwe kama mimi. Sawa. The other thing is I've also like something like the thing that amesema, I think even if you are a teacher, you need to, safety comes first. Si ni kweli? Ni sisi wenyewe. Na mimi nimekuja kufurahia ni hatufai kukua kama ni watu ambaye tunataka kupigania haki za watoto, lakini we can be whistleblowers. Si ndio? Whistleblowers ni ita mzazi, mwambie jukumu lako, mimi naona wantu kijana wako. Tuko pamoja? Pale unakuwa umejiondolea lawama. You just a whistleblower or you just somebody who just knew. But usione kitu unyamazie. Si ni kweli? So I think that one is okay. Now, another thing is Nyaberi maybe amesahau, apart from kupigia simu ambazo you are calling to the helpline child, you can also report to GVRC. Okay? We have a toll-free line na ningependa muweze kuiandika mahali. It is 0800 72 565, and I'll repeat 0800 72 565. And then apart from now kureport pale GVRC, ambapo yule kijana atapata either matibabu, akikuja kwangu atapata psychological health. That is also we subject them to counseling. Even as I know there are teachers who are counselors, I also urge probably if you're able to give counsel to these children, it will be better. But of course, it's good to give them a psychological help. They receive psychological help. They receive kitu ambayo inaitwa access to justice. With GVRC, we are also keen to make sure that yule mtu ambaye ni rotten, that is the perpetrator, mtoto amepata haki kutoka kwa yule perpetrator. Na tunafanya hivyo kivipi? Wakati yule mtoto analetwa pale hospitalini, ama when the child is brought within the hospital, there is that medical evidence ambayo inatolewangwa kwa yule mtoto in terms of maybe ameangaliwa, amepatikana akona hizo lacerations. Ni kweli? How do we link this person to the trauma amefanyia yule mtoto? Yule daktari ambaye amefanya examination ataweza kutoa expert evidence in a court of law. Tuko pamoja? So we also advocate as GVRC that besides treatment, besides psychological, we need to take this child apate haki. Tuko pamoja? So what we do, we give expert evidence zenye ambazo zimechukuliwa, zimepatikana kwa mtoto, zile ndio ambazo tunapeleka, na alafu daktari wetu anasimama pale anapeana ushahidi. Na that's what we do as GVRC. Mahali pengine ni police station. Tulikuwa ameongelea kabisa, kuna hiyo police dinio. Kuna gender desk ambazo zimewekwa kwa kila police station ambaye ni sijui ni utaniele ni ile ambaye si zile post but ni police station ambaye ni fully, si ndio? Kuna gender desk. Siku hizi ziko na gender desk. So gender desk ni mahali ambaye mnafaa kuwa mko na namba za wale ambaye kama ni bondeni, kama ni Njoro, uko na. Another thing is kuna watu ambaye ni watu wa shirika la serikali. Shirika la serikali ni kama Children's Department. Si ni kweli? Munaweza kutafuta namba ya Children's Department. I remember the other day nilikuwa nimepigiwa simu na mtu from the community akijaribu kuniambia hata nikajaribu kumwambia first fanye hivi, number 1 nataka uripoti hii kesi kwa Children Department because from there wale wataweza kuchukulia, then after kuripot kwa Children's Department report, kwa sababu wa MP mtoto wa nani wa daktari unafunza wa MCA, si ni kweli? Hao ndio wenye si kila mtu. Unajua wale ambaye mnafunza walimu, kuna mtoto ambaye huwa unafunza na unajua baba yake ni chief, then you can report to that part, ndio unasema chief, kuja angalia hii jambo, kuna kitu ina happen. Haya, another place ni IPOA. IPOA, unajua kuna cases ambazo zinashinda polisi. Now, sijui kama mmefuatilia hii maneno ya pastor ambaye ni controversial, ambaye ni ya Shakahola. Si ni kweli? Hizi cases zilikuwa zinaripotiwa, jameni? Si zilikuwa zinaripotiwa? Si mara mingi yule pastor alifungwa na bado akawachiliwa. Now, if at all this person alikuwa najua anaweza enda kwa IPOA, sini angeenda report case kule, ile ingefuata to the other side, si ndio? Na iweze apart from now whistleblowing kwa media, tutarudia kusema media. Aya, leo tumebahatika Bwana Nyaberi, hii production imefanywa na Nakuru TV. Ndio wale watu wametufanyia hii production. Hata ukiangalia kile kipaza sauti unachokitumia ni cha Nakuru TV. Again, si ni channel mwafaka? Tunaweza, ni kweli? Si Citizen waliweza kuangazia yale masaibu ambayo inafanyika. Na hata tukikuwa na watoto ambaye unafunza mtoto wa Nakuru TV. And nimeshukuru sana wale walimu ambao tumekuwa nao. Nimeshukuru Bwana George kwa kuwa na sisi. Florence, thank you so much. Mwalimu wa muziki pale, Bwana Nyaberi, commentator mashuhuri. Tumeshukuru sana, and I hope maybe in the near future we will be able to call and we will be able to have a continuous relationship between teachers, Bacon teachers, na walimu haswa kwa jumla. Sijui kama tujipigie makofi kwa kuwa tumeza ninyo as we bring it. Thank you so much those who are watching us from Facebook. We are grateful and we are coming to a close to this. Please continue watching us in GVRC and the Twitter handle and the IG. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless Kenya.